All right, we will call to order the meeting of the Economic Development Committee, 5 p.m. Monday, February 4th, in the main conference room, County Administration Building, 1 Center Street, Chatham, Virginia. Roll call, please.
Mr. Warren.
Present.
Mr. Scarce. Here. Mr. Barr. Here. We'll note that Chairman Davis, Mr. Blackstock, and Dr. Miller are also in attendance.
Okay, are there any revisions or additions to the agenda?
No, sir.
Don't have anything. Okay, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Scarce, second by Mr. Barr. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. New business, 5A, Halifax RIFA discussion. Mr. Smitherman.
Yes, sir. We were invited, in fact, I believe the Board of Supervisors of Halifax County passed a resolution directing their staff to pursue a conversation with Pittsylvania County and the City of Danville to potentially create a RIFA for the benefit of sharing the VIR industrial park. Sorry, I don't know if better one. Is that what you call it? All right.
Motorsport Technology
Park. And we've invited Connie Nighthome with the Virginia International Raceway to come speak to you this evening. We met with Danville and Halifax and Connie a couple of weeks ago. We briefed you very briefly on that matter. Brought it to the chairman. He said, well, let's hear directly from the track on what it is that they're trying to do and why this might make sense. The end result that we're seeking from this evening's meeting is the advice of the committee of whether they would like for us to continue a conversation or we would like to politely bow out of the conversation. So that's the purpose of tonight's meeting. Ms. Nighthome is here to make a very brief presentation about the economic benefits of her facility and to talk about some of the challenges she's having with water, which would be a primary initiative of the RIFA in its early stages to secure an ongoing water source for the track. So I will turn it over to Connie, and I will be your trusty slide advancer. Actually, this works.
I have never even held one.
Let's do it.
I have technology challenge.
There we go. I just hit that button and we want to change the slide.
Good luck to me.
Good luck to you.
I'm Connie Nighthome, and just briefly, I know many of you. I don't know all of you, but I grew up in Martinsville. Went to Martinsville High School, went to Raymond Mary, ended up in New York City for 20 years, and finally came home. You know, my parents were getting older in Martinsville, and I was desperately trying to find a way to get back, and I was running around building the Roma for brake stores. My very last store was in Martinsville. I came down 81 after doing the Hudson Valley, New York, all of Connecticut, Eastern Pennsylvania. Finally got into Virginia and met Harvey Siegel, who had just put VIR under contract, and said, now what? So we were introduced by a mutual friend, and my parents were still alive. My dad was still active in real estate. He was on the zoning board in Martinsville for over 20 years. And he helped open a bunch of doors, primarily with Worth Carter Bank, so we could borrow money to get started. And that was back in May of '98, and I still have Pepper. So I'm the first and last one standing. We have 300 employees on staff, about 108 full-time equivalents. We operate 5 different racetrack configurations, karting, a lot of shooting. We do the Navy SEALs training from the West Coast. Sometimes we also have the East Coast, a lot of DOD and FBI, a lot of the elite forces. They come from Germany, Afghanistan. It's run through primarily a group in our industrial park, Racing for Heroes. So it's a very diverse facility, so all of our eggs aren't in one basket. And my primary dream when we started this, because I'd never even been to a racetrack, was to give back to Southern Virginia, having grown up in Martinsville, when we had the highest per capita millionaires in the country, and now we probably have unemployment. So It's been a big dream to do this project and to make it so much more than we ever envisioned. However, we wanted to do a private club, a motorsport country club, and it didn't take long to figure out that was not sustainable given the size of the property and the infrastructure required. And because VIR had been a pro racing track back in the 50s and 60s, we actually had the very first IMSA race, which is our big race now, back in 1966, and this is the 50th anniversary of that series, so it's going to be celebrated across the country and even globally, and we'll be a big part of that in August. So that's kind of a short version of where I came from and how we got started. We've had challenges over the years, primarily with infrastructure, and just to be plain, which I tend to be, most of our benefit has gone to Halifax in terms of direct benefit, because that's where our taxes, our real estate taxes, our food and beverage taxes go. Most of our impact goes to Danville. You guys caught in the middle, get some of that, but not nearly what Danville gets. And over the years, as we try to keep up with our growth and demand, Halifax says, well, all your benefit goes to Danville, so we don't really care. And then Danville says, well, all your taxes go to Halifax, so we don't really care. And so we haven't been able to get people to the same table. So in 2009, we did our first impact study, and it came out, we were just tickled pink with it. It was a $79 million impact. Martinsville did a study the same year. Theirs was 101, so we were just under Martinsville, and we're still fairly, green. And we had that updated in 2018, which is before you now, and that impact is now $197 million just in the 3 localities. And we focus on the 3 localities because while there's some overflow to others, we're not focused on that so much as home. And hopefully that would give reason for everyone to sit at the same table and talk about the possibility of a RIFA, some kind of co-marketing. I do a lot of work with the economic developers who bring a lot of the prospects through to VIR, not only to show the facility and the world-class stature of that facility, but because we're automotive and high technology aerospace related, and we can relate to especially the very wealthy prospect who can be a little bit overwhelmed when they're taken out of their pond because they're used to dictating their pond. And they fit in pretty well with our group when we need to, don't they? And we enjoyed that. And hopefully some of those prospects will come to life, whether they come to life at VIR and elsewhere in Pittsylvania, Danville, Halifax. We're doing our job to try to be an attraction. So this is the shortened version of what I have forwarded for you guys. The bottom line of the entire study is that $237 million is the total impact of the year. There's lots of formulas and fancy words in the full-blown study, but the bottom line of that is that $197 million, 83% stay within the local region, and we'll see how that breaks down. We'll be on the slide. This is kind of our major message to people is that we operate nearly every day. I mean, we'll be booked on the racetracks probably 10 days in January, 10 days in February, but come March through mid-December, it's almost every single day. Where Martinsville or Richmond have 2 weekends a year, we're bringing people every day, smaller numbers of people on each day, but that gives them a chance to fill up the local hotels and restaurants and gas stations and everything versus have to spill out to go so far for the Martinsville and Richmond races. We get to keep those people at home. Most of our business is not racing. You'll see the third bullet, about 25,000 people are on property for the 5 major races, whether they are drivers, officials, fans, support staff, whoever it is, we count them all and total it up, and it's about 25,000 people, and they stay about 4 days, so about 100,000 visits for the public races. The rest of it is almost 700,000 visits, 7 times from just our daily activities, 270,000 unique visitors. They usually stay 2 to 3 days. 90% come from outside the local region. And I think the reason it skews that high is because when you come in and deliver Coke or coffee or anything, you sign the waiver, and that skews the numbers for the locals visiting because all the suppliers and delivers are local. On the race weekends, it's 97%. So reality is somewhere in between So we're bringing a bunch of people here, and they're coming from far and not asking for much but to spend their money. So hopefully with the growth in the Institute and the River District and all the things happening locally and regionally, we can give them more to spend money on, because we sure can't handle it. The out-of-region spending is 170 million, 174 of that 197, so, you know, the vast majority is coming from far. And this slide just goes on to say how it's broken up. City of Danville gets roughly 50% of the impact. Pittsylvania gets roughly 23, and Halifax gets 27. And all these charts and the explanations are in the packets that were sent to you. Our direct payments are about $780,000 a year. Most of that goes to Danville because of our electricity. And the next bulk goes to Halifax in terms of the food, lodging, beverage tax, and real estate taxes. About $160,000 are real estate taxes, and about $100,000 right now are food and beverage. If we can address the water solution so that we can expand, there'll be a lot more food and beverage and lodging. And here's an even more detailed breakdown of how those dollars flow through the localities and the federal taxes. So about 12 million stays at home, and 17 million goes to the feds. This slide is some of the cool people that do business with us, and our top track runners. This year you may have heard, and if you haven't, I hope you do, and I hope you hear it often, is that we have the SCCA runoff. It's the largest race in the country. And we've had our name in the hat for about 5 years. It's a 9-day event. It's the largest amateur race event in the country, if not the world, and it's going to be crazy. I get goosebumps just thinking about it. It's the national group that puts it together. It's a national event, and they put out a survey to their drivers to see what the participation looks like. And we're tracking like Indianapolis did 2 years ago, and it was their first time to host a runoff, like our first time. They had 965 cars. I mean, it's thousands of people, and they're here from 9 days to some large segment of the 9 days. 3 days of practice, 3 days of qualifying, 3 days of racing. We also, General Motors does all their high-performance testing of the Corvette, Honda, Ford, and now Suzuki are also doing their performance testing with us. Most of that's reported in the Car and Driver. They do the Lightning Lap issue. I think this year is the 13th year, and it's their most widely read issue, and it's certainly the most notable motorsport article in the country, and they've been doing it with us year after year after year. So you'll see that usually comes out around October. And these other folks are multiple winners. National TV broadcast. We've added an event this year. I'm not sure what channel it's going to be on, but it's going to be the F3 and F4. Those are the support races leading up to F1. It's going to be an all-open-wheel weekend. That's new this year in addition to the runoff. So every year we've either added to and or significantly improved our schedule and the television that comes along with that. We play home to a lot of businesses. The top right is the most fun, and that would have a video to go with our 14 craft beers on tap in Connie's Pub. But we have a 1840s tavern. We have a lot of corporate events. We are working very, very hard the last several years, and this year I think we've finally broken through the cloud to get the corporate awareness. So we'll bring out, for instance, staff out of Raleigh. Their senior vice president, the number 2 man here, is a massive Porsche fan. Found out about Formula Experiences, a new business we have on site, came out to do a site tour and have an experience with his wife, and now they're going to be bringing multiple divisions from staff to come here. So it just exposes the region and everything else that's happening to these people who are in decision-making power. Formula Experience is the newest business. They have a fleet of downforce race cars, so mere mortals can drive unbelievably, stupidly fast. But they're the big attraction for these corporate, players who then come out and they also do shooting. We have everything from pistol ranges to automatic weapons. and obstacle courses off-road, all kinds of things. So we can offer a very diverse experience for a team building or a leadership class, or just a background for a wedding. So we do about a dozen weddings a year. GCAPS, that's in the industrial park. That is run by Virginia Tech. It is the Sober Vehicle Motion Lab and the National Tire Research Center. That great big machine on the bottom left is the attraction for the Tire Center. It's an $11.3 million force and moment machine that was funded by General Motors, Virginia Tech, and Tobacco Commission years ago. It's the most capable machine in the world. And most of the customers come from Europe and Asia, and we rarely see them. I mean, they are just lab rats. And so they come here and they do all the testing actually for Formula One. Sasco Sports was our first tenant. They moved here from Connecticut, and they prepare vintage race cars. Kraus and Associates, which is the bottom right, that's just a cool little startup business in a Speed Suite garage. It's an incubator that we built, and they do simulated race driving training globally. Wisco builds radical race cars. They moved here from Dulles. Racing for Heroes is our government military training arm. And Party Racing, I think they came from Connecticut also, and they build engines. Cameron Racing from California, and McKinsey Auto Sport, and they do auto wraps. But they're all tenants that have been attracted by the people we bring to the racetrack.
Formula experiences high octane adrenaline rush.
I don't know how I did that.
Your exclusive driver training begins in our newly renovated, luxuriously appointed facility. Whether you drive a Prius, a minivan, or a Ferrari, automatic or stick, our professional and personable instructors will take things at your own pace.
So
Classroom
for
instruction
2 hours
is enhanced by
in
time on our
cars,
state-of-the-art driving
it's,
simulators
$3.95.
that prepare you for the track with a virtual drive-through of the VIR course. After training, it's time to drive. When you hit the gas in our open cockpit race cars, it's a total rush. The screaming engine, the hurricane-strength winds, and unbelievable 2G downforce will thrill your senses. Also available, high-speed ride-alongs with our pro instructors and night rides through the pitch-black Virginia evenings. Formula Experiences has created a way for you to live out something you've only ever seen on the big screen. Whether you're a thrill seeker or someone who just wants to step out of their comfort zone, Formula Experiences offers you the ultimate all-inclusive driving experience.
Should be able to hit next. It should. I think it'll keep going.
Yep. We did. Okay. So just a quick overview visual. This is what we started with in 1957. That's the way the track looked when we got here, except for there were trees growing in it. And so after we plucked all the trees out, and there's a little bit of alligator asphalt through there, we knew what we had, and we repaved the exact track. We widened it, just got all the trees out, straightened it out, and then widened it and put in all the safety barrier. So that's what we opened looking like in 2000. So all that brown stuff is now industrial park, kart track, off-road. That, and it's full. So we have built out everything we can build because we're limited by water. When we first started, we had wells and septic, and we built everything we could within less than 2 years. And so the Halifax County applied with Danville and Pittsylvania to Tobacco Commission special projects when Tobacco Commission was new, and got a grant to extend our sewer to Danville. There's a lift station in Pennsylvania. That's probably where the direct payments come mostly from, is paying to pass the sewer through there. And then they put in a water tower and collected our water and sell it back to the track. And we had 5 wells. Today, only 1 well is working. So we're at our 50th hookup. We can't build anything new, and if that well goes, all of this goes. So the big dream is to extend the water system to Ringgold, hook into Danville there. A preliminary engineering report's been done by Mark Estes at Halifax County Service Authority. It's been shared with the other service authorities, and there are multiple options and routes to take, and how you can pick up additional residential customers or not. Frankly, it's a humongous bill for not a lot besides us and another large tract of industrial land that's owned by Cloverdale Lumber and the Burnett's in Pittsylvania County. For future industrial, you guys have enough land right now to last a long, long time, but that would pass that site. I think interim solutions would get it over the hump to at least protect the viability of the track and the economic impact. But the longer term solution is to tie into the public water system instead of digging more wells. The ones that have failed have been through natural contaminants, benzene and manganese, maybe.
The other thing, they take the dry people, they dig them and send them.
Yeah, so it's kind of throwing good money after bad, possibly. I think the least expensive solution was around $500,000 to dig another well and put in some filtration to blend the water on site. Kind of hope for the best to work towards the longer solution. So I know that we'll make another video. I hope I don't hit it. It's on 13 seconds.
Are you on the track?
Yeah, that was 1998.
The main panic.
Yeah.
That video is on our website, the full video.
But right up there on Paddock Hill, you can see the whole front straight, so you can see the cars coming down the hill and going across here. It was a great place to watch from.
Yeah.
And start-finish line was about right along in here.
Yeah, there's no pagoda, what's left of it.
And I'm telling people, oh, we're going to build a hotel over here, and we're going to do this, and they're like, yeah, right. So there was Spectator Hill private party where a race broke out, and there was a big piece of corrugated metal up there that said men and women. And you went behind it, there was nothing there. And that was kind of the state of the entire facility. There was one lonely electric wire coming across the river that had long since died, and I mean, there was nothing but that. So, then go, if I just hit it, okay. I'll leave this. If you got that was the interview with, I can't even pronounce his name, Giancarlo. He's a Ferrari driver, and he was an F1 driver, and he came here the first time last year and just flipped out and did this interview that this is one of the most amazing tracks ever built in the world. And I've driven all of them. And that was our very full schedule. Last year, we're doing exactly the same thing this year, except we're adding the open wheel F3 and F4 race, and we're hosting the runoff. So, again, that's kind of the short version of who we are and where we came from and where we hope to go. I mean, if we can solve the water, our next goal would be to build what they call man caves, which would be basically garages with the unfinished second floor so that people can customize that space and store their cars. It's a pretty proven concept. They're all across the country. A lot of them are urban environments where people don't have storage. Here it would be at the track with premier viewing up by the building. So that would just be another offering that could then go back into the rental pool. We want to look at a second hotel, a pod hotel, smaller rooms, not many amenities, because we have so many government military on per diem that we try to work in with everything else. It's just too much to massage everybody. Our goal has never been to keep everyone on site. We only have 60 rooms, and for 270,000 unique visitors, that doesn't go very far. So we just want to be able to manage those core businesses so we can grow the business from that and bring more into the region overall. And I think I've never been involved in a RIFA. I've never sat in a RIFA meeting. I read about them. But I know when we had our meeting a few weeks ago, Halifax, under the leadership of Dan Sleeper, who many of you know, seems pretty willing to talk and be flexible in whatever formula works, whether it's sharing the tax revenues just in the industrial park and the future growth of the park, because it can't grow if it doesn't have water, or sharing the taxes, including food and beverage, of all of the IR. And so if we build a second hotel and man caves and a tavern expansion, the food and beverage taxes are likely to exceed the real estate taxes. So I think they're open for all that. We're a passenger on this train, praying hard. So that's my job, and I can answer any questions you have or try to or get those answers. I'm always happy to engage. I'm worried that down to one well, that if that goes, I don't know what happens. Because if it shuts down in the middle of season, like we had 2 hurricanes this year, and those 2 hurricanes, when we had to shut down at the last minute, I know our balance sheet took a $250,000 hit. I can't imagine what happened in town. So because it's multiple of what we do. I mean, people think we're, you know, cashing big checks. We're not. We're Walmart bringing everybody into the small stores. And that's okay. It's our job. You know, we want to be, you know, sustainable and grow and eventually pay off Carter Bank and, you know, then we'll talk. But until that time, we need to sustain and grow, and our model's always been built on growth. So we build to demand, and when people, you know, recognize what we have and we reach capacity and we can go to the next level, we prudently try to do that. Now we can't because of water.
Questions?
Of course, kind of relates to this, but what happened to the bridge tying it into 58? You know, someone building the road, did that?
No, I don't know who was leading that discussion. You know, I heard those rumors and I said, oh, I can't buy anything off that big. So I don't know where that came. There was 2 different routes even being discussed, because if it could tie directly into 58 Pittsylvania, that would be a home run.
That would benefit us tremendously, but I know it also would increase the traffic. I've been in there several times, and somebody out of town, they probably wonder how we're going to get there.
They do. The first visit, Scott Atherton, who is the president of IMSA, our largest race, is really tight-lipped. I mean, he finds fault with everything. He's a nice guy, but he's one round-up guy. So he shows up the first time and he goes, how many cows are there here? You know, if it's not cows, it's tobacco farm. I said, well, not that many, not as many as there used to be. And he says, I thought I was never going to get here. I said, well, how long did it take you? I said, it's an hour and 15 minutes from our view. I said, well, that's pretty good. Your son makes it in 65 minutes, but he's younger. So, but the next time he came, the next year, he says, you know, that is a really pleasant drive. It was so easy, you know, no traffic. And this time he goes, I didn't even realize I was here. You know, I said, that's what it takes, Scott, 3 times. And most of our visitors have been here way more than 3 times. And so it's an objection we can overcome. But as, you know, Matt and Kelly bring prospects to direct access with certainly not the industrial component, and it would make it easier and take the burden off the rural roads and all that sort of thing. They're going to find us, it would make it a lot better.
Mr. Scarcity.
I think I missed it. What was the cost of the water?
I'm sorry, that wasn't in the impact study. The water for the full-blown solution to Ringgold is $4 million. Just under. So that's what they rounded up to. And then there's a phase 2 possibility of tying in the town of Milton, because we're way bigger than Milton, and they've got water issues too, which could involve potentially DRF or maybe Golden Leaf or some of North Carolina.
Mr. Blackstone.
How many gallons per day, roughly? Obviously, you've done some research, and to go back and try to upsize after doing the initial route wouldn't make sense. So you need to know the maximum amount that you would need for a hotel or different facilities for growth to put the pipe in. How many gallons per day are you?
You know, I've never been asked that question, and I don't know the answer. Mark,
It's in the report.
yeah, it's in the preliminary engineering report that they did on the routing for that. I'm sorry, Sandy Curry is my chief strategic officer. We did a little restructuring, and with the RIFA on the board and the man case and the runoffs and all these things, we're having to kind of manage things a little bit differently. So she's tied at my hip. So if I ever can't show up, please help her, and she'll help you, and I'll get back.
Service authority in Pittsylvania County is separate from the board of supervisors.
Same in
They have
Halifax.
they have a board of commissioners. So and they being the service authority all over the water and sewer.
Mm-hmm. What I can share from what I know of what Mark said, and Mr. Adcock has been in meetings with this group also, different fractions of our group, is when they built the water tower to serve VIR's 5 wells, that would have met our capacity for full capacity, full build out. But because the wells are failing, that's the problem. And I think the water tower is a 150,000 gallon water tower. They manage the flow rate so it doesn't get stale and all the things that utility people know far better than I do. But we can certainly get you a copy of the PER that would explain, you know, what they did, what they went back to answer additional questions, and also the cost and how close and route. through Pennsylvania. So I think they have capacity.
Who buys the water?
That VIR would be purchasing water from the city of Danville through Pennsylvania, just as VIR sends its sewer to Danville.
I think you probably actually.
Through the Halifax
through
County,
Halifax,
yes.
yeah.
We pay Halifax County Service Authority and they pay
Correct.
Danville and Pennsylvania, and they would extend that, toll for water as they have done with sewer. And I'm a citizen.
The Service Authority is working on some other other resources, and, you know, I don't know, it would have to be looked at, but I happen to be on the Service Authority, but it doesn't mean the water supply would have to come from Danville.
Okay. Mark asked us as the boss of me, so.
I understand.
Would you like me to share?
Well, I'm on the Service Authority, and obviously y'all have some conversations with us.
Yeah. So he's been managing it, and I answered the questions back.
I guess, I mean, the economic impact's unbelievable, but I guess what we need to know is, David and Matt, the numbers. What's the return, I guess we need a formula, what our impact would be financially, with the returns will be, because it's hard trying to process this. I know she's took this thing a long ways. I've been over this for 15 years, and that's amazing what you've done in that amount of time, but, it looks like, we know it's a great project, but I guess we need to know numbers.
That's exactly where we are. You know, this table was set, we had a conversation, we looked at the preliminary economics, just back of the napkin, of only dealing with the industrial park. And I just threw out on the table, guys, without the track, and Connie even went further today and said everything's on the table, whether it's hotel receipts or meals tax or whatever. Without more in the pot, it doesn't make a lot of sense just to include the industrial park. There have to be other things financially that would be to our interests. So I think that has been met favorably. I don't know what that would be. I do know that the actual property taxes for the track and the industrial park net about $165,000 a year to Halifax. So that's at a minimum what's on the table. That doesn't include receipts for meals and lodging.
Which could be greatly increased if you had a water source.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, because we could keep building. So my original dream of a RIFA was way before the water problem, because we were self-sustaining with the water. We just paid Halifax and they maintain it and sell us our water and we go on. But when I got to know Matt and Kelly and we started working together, and I could see the good job they were doing in closing Prospect, I said, you know, you guys are using us as a tool and a carrot, which is great, but you don't get any credit if you place anyone here. And so that's really a disservice to the tenant, who would be much more successful if they were located in that cluster.
So Connie brings up a really good point. It's one that I think
It's revenue neutral to me.
that's right. We have, for example, Overbridge in the solar park. We are actively recruiting companies that fit her niche. They're automotive based, and at the present time, we're competing with Halifax for those projects. And Martinsville. If we were in cooperation with Halifax and Danville on these type projects, all of a sudden, we have a place to put these automotive clients. And I don't mean this in a negative way, and I don't know that it sounds like it's negative. It leaves the cyber park for higher and better uses. We don't tie up our good land for something that may be better suited down there with Connie. And it sure would be nice to put them where they're better suited and still get a piece of it.
Yeah, like a Kyocera, they're not.
Right, they're not going to be interested.
Yeah, and a huge manufacturing plant would never be with us. Now, if Lexus or Volvo or one of those people decide again to go out into the market and not go to Georgia or Tennessee, and we can get them at Berry Hill, then, you know, we're a big enticement for that. And the little suppliers and the people who, you know, are making very, very expensive, tiny little things, you know, and not great big supply, but they can then partner with TMI in Halifax and the Tire Center and their global reach, and, they synergize with one another.
I also want the board to know that that $4 million price tag on water, one of the attractive reasons Halifax has their arms open is that they want to buy down that cost using some funding sources that, like Go Virginia, that encourage and reward intergovernmental cooperation, regional cooperation. So that's, I want to say Dan said it was
They got really far with EDA, and then they just said, this needs to be a regional project. And
So they're looking to buy down that cost.
the EDA, I think they were looking at $1.5 million from that.
But the short answer to the question is we are now at that point to talk about what our economics is. But we didn't want to go down that road unless this board gave us indication of its appetite to proceed, at least on the staff level, of giving you better information to make a decision.
I think Halifax says the resolution, if Danville has it, I think they are. And so it's how you guys come to the table, if you come to the table.
Right.
And the way I understood it was it doesn't have to be a third, a third, a third. It can be, 50, 40, 10, or, that's between you. Again, to me, it's revenue neutral.
Matthew, that's a good point.
Just related to, just make a couple clarifications, and I think the first one I just would make is that at the end of the day, we're not competing with Halifax. We're not competing with Martinsville. We're competing with other states. And I think that's one of the things that has made ours pretty successful when we're dealing with clients. We tell them, you locate in Halifax County, great. You locate in Martinsville, Henry County, great. Kelly and I, we will both be there for the announcement. Because a third of the workers will come from our workforce. So I think it's really important for us to make a distinction that when we are taking the types of clients that we're taking to Connie's and the types of clients that David's talking about, I can name them, and we're competing against New York, Florida, and Indianapolis. That's who you're really competing against. And Kentucky. And the reason being is because those communities are taking them to the racetrack so they can locate right on the racetrack. When you're an overseas client, you don't, in a business, and the types of clientele that Connie's describing, political boundaries don't mean squat. And what I mean by that is that they don't understand where they are. They don't care about the political lines. They just want to know, if I put something here, can I have access to this track? And so, from our perspective, and I say our, I don't speak for Kelly, I don't speak for myself, certainly, being able to have that kind of an asset to say that, well, we all get along so well in Southern Virginia that, you're not technically in Danville or Pittsylvania County, but you're in Halifax County, and because of this, you can put your facility here, and we support it, you support it here, we support it there. At the end of the day, I think that that's very important. To answer Tim's question of what is an internal investment, I can tell you with 100% accuracy, Tim, that we would not have been shortlisted by Toyota Mazda if it wasn't for that track.
That's what I'm saying is, David, I guess you need to bring something back to us, numbers,
Yeah.
what we're looking at.
Scenarios, yeah.
Of course, I've always been toward the zero, but we need to know where we're at.
We need to know that. I have a question. When you mentioned that Halifax was open-minded, open-armed, but you said if we build another hotel or if we build another restaurant, or we have some kind of expansion. So does that mean that the current revenue that's being generated to Halifax is hands-off in relationship to this river?
That's not what they're saying. That's what I thought. I thought that the baseline was being.
I was just going, but.
And again,
I just want to get that
I'm not
cleared up because of the way you said it.
I'm not the boss of this, but the way I understood it to begin with was they would come to the table doing somersaults if the baseline was anything new. But Dan said at our meeting a few weeks ago that we know that's not realistic. We assume that everything is on the table to have this discussion, which I was.
Excuse me, going to be the same attitude. I think we've got a new county administrator. This
he's on board with this as well.
He's supposed to be,
Yeah, but he, Dan said that he put his resume next to his and they were in lockstep, and that he would like to see, you know, our water solution addressed one way or another before, you know, stepping away from this particular aspect of his work.
Just for board's information, Dan had spoke to me, I ran into him in Halifax, and he started talking about this a while back. And I know the board chair down there pretty well, Dennis Swift, from the last 15 years. So he's, you know, he's on board with the same information that's being
I
provided.
mean, in real life, the
That's right.
sustainability is in jeopardy. So with, pardon my openness, but with Halifax's backwards attitude compared to Matt and Telly, our industrial park was not going to grow anyway. So they're not going to get any more of nothing. And if we don't address the water, it can all go away.
I think we.
Go ahead, Mr. Vice President.
I don't think any one of the three localities would back away from trying to see this project through. It's important. Danville's already benefiting heavily through hotel receipts and restaurants. Pittsylvania, we bring a lot to the table when it comes to the water. And we obviously wouldn't want to see you grow. But I think this board needs to understand that we're not a rock sitting behind the goal with this. We are actually should be driving this, because this is right there on our board. And in my mind, with the RIFA form, Danville and Pittsylvania County and Halifax should be sharing the proceeds from the park itself, because Danville is already benefiting heavily through hotel and restaurant receipts.
Yep, that's true. I mean, that's the point that we've been up against since we started.
So in my mind, on a RIFA is a good thing, especially if it'll bring some grant monies from the state and other areas. But let's don't give it all away up front. We need to remember, Danville's already benefiting from this. This is something that Halifax and Pittsylvania County should be sharing the majority of as far as revenue from that site.
Has Danville been talked with about sharing the new water?
That has not taken place to date. We've only had one meeting.
You need to share that too.
I think it'll be a third, because like she said, if the thing closes, they get 100% of nothing. I mean, this needs to be done and
I'm
addressed.
thinking more, Danville, Pittsylvania County getting a lot more than a third. And
Well, I'm tracking with what
Pittsylvania
Mr.
County and
Vice
Halifax
said.
gets a lot more than a third. Danville takes a lot less off the property because they already give receipts for hotels and restaurants. So we all need to make it work. For you bringing too much to the table for us. Not
Well, you know, again, I want to be sustainable for all of us. And I also want to grow because I take great pleasure in beating Road Atlanta. And we can do that. And we have, you know, we've made it through all these tough years, as you know, Tim, and just now we're on the world stage. We've done things slowly, but we've done them correctly. We have the best staff in the business, and, you know, we just need to get these next couple facilities to show the continued growth. I mean, I'd like to build these fan areas like Watkins Glen, although they built these huge metal structures, we're going to put them on beautiful green countryside. But then if they have nice bathrooms, showers, and all, that's what brings them. And we're out of camping area. Now, that's building a church for Easter Sunday. The camping is not that expensive to build, and we're not talking full of hookups, but we're giving the fan what they want. You know, so that the positive buzz is always there and it just keeps going.
Mr. Davis.
You already said in your conversation that there was going to be a difference in the sharing, correct? Regardless of the three entities that would be involved from Danville, Halifax, and Pittsylvania County, there would be a difference in sharing that would be agreed upon, especially when Danny Marshall would say, we got more skin in the game.
I think the people who would make that decision are whoever is sitting at the RIFA negotiation table.
Right.
You know, I'm sitting there hoping that.
So third, yes ma'am, third, that would probably be what would be argued, Mr. County
I
Administrator.
think Mr. Blackstock's making some interesting points.
Oh, I agree with
Pursue.
Mr. Blackstock. I'm thinking we ought to share far more in it than Danville, Virginia is concerned. All right, the second thing is this, you've got benzene that's in the water, contamination and all, that's a problem at Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company. And that's coming from the byproducts of gasoline, whatever else. So have you guys had an opportunity to say, try to prevent the contamination going to the wells, or is this just something that couldn't be controlled?
It's not coming from the track, it's coming from the earth. And
Okay.
so
Wow.
it's radium, manganese, are the two major culprits, and then there you get some EEDs, but they're not like gasoline contaminants or dry cleaning contaminants or any of those kinds of things.
Connie, have you talked to any hotels or anything about the next hotel if you got water?
No, because we have built and managed our own properties, so we're not part of a franchise system. It's something that could be discussed. What makes us so odd is we create our own clients. You know, so a referral system, highway signage doesn't do us any good. You know, we've got the demand, we just don't have the supply. And we don't want to try to supply all of our demand because that would be ridiculous, you know, and we want it to go into the city, you know. So like this morning I had a voicemail from one of the restaurants in town, Cotton, just thanking me for the referrals because the people come and say, oh, we're here because we're at VIR and they told us that this is a nice place, and you know, so they just called to say thank you, we know where it's coming from, and that's appropriate. So we want to build another hotel to make our operation more efficient with some more rooms, but we want to build a significantly different product because that's what happens with our people. We want a lower price point, but it's still very high quality. We don't want to build a Super 8. We want to build our lodge with, you know, smaller rooms and no jacuzzi tubs.
Anybody else got anything else?
You know
So-
where to find me.
I mean, you heard from the committee.
What we'll do,
Get some more information.
if this committee recommends it, we will put a resolution of consent at your next meeting. Basically, as a recommendation from this board that staff continue to pursue negotiations and conversations involving VR. So we're just looking for direction, no commitment, just direction.
Any more discussion on it? Any input, gentlemen? Anybody down there? Okay.
I'm glad that that's Martin
All in
County.
favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Connie. We'll move to item B, CEDS priority project list, Mr. Sykes.
Yes, this is a routine exercise we do every year through our partnership with West Piedmont Planning District Commission. CEDS is a comprehensive economic development strategy, and we all request that each locality in the West Piedmont District comes up with a CEDS priority project list. And we typically take that to the board, and since this committee was available, it seemed like a good opportunity to let the Economic Development Committee look at it first. We anticipate that the board would likely take action at the next board supervisors meeting. And attached is the list that we have continuously maintained and updated. It's essentially all of our projects in here, the Cyber Park, the Cane Creek, Berry Hill, of course. We've got in here the Southern Virginia Multimodal Park in Hurt. We've got a potential facility in Blairs. And let's see, call your attention to, I guess we've got a number of pages, but on the last list of projects, Cloverdale Regional Industrial Park, Pittsylvania County, Halifax County. That is something that, like Tim said, we've been talking about to various degrees for a real long time. This Cloverdale Cloverdale was based on the fact that Cloverdale lumber owned most of that property, and it was to develop industrially zoned property on 58 as a potential entrance to DIR. So, and we've updated that back, including the water interconnection. So the purpose of projects being on this list is, in order to apply for EDA or any type of federal funding, you have to be on this project list. Doesn't mean you're gonna do all of these projects. The numbers over here, we had a question one year about, gosh, we're spending a lot of money. Well, these are no commitments, these are just rough estimates that we have to put on the form to be on the list to potentially apply for federal funding. So, I furnished this to Matt and to Susan and asked y'all's input. Did you come up with anything that needed to be added?
The only one was the Blair's one, Greg, and so you added that, so I appreciate that.
Yes, we've got a Blair's Commerce Park that really is anywhere from the Bojangles that's there now to the Blairs where 29 and bypass come together. That's just a key development area. It's also been earmarked for many, many years as a potential development site. So, I guess with that said, Matt is the guy that's keeping his finger on the pulse, and I want to make sure that we didn't miss anything. So it looks like it's a complete list at this point. Again, you don't have to actually approve it until the Board of Supervisors meeting in February, so we have a little bit more time. It would be ideal if this committee would see fit to recommend it or refer it to the Board of Supervisors. That would show we're on track.
Mr. Martin.
Well, Greg, since we're talking DR, that thing's really burning my brain. Now, you remember when we started talking about putting that road to DR, what the impact Pittsylvania County was going to be with lodging and restaurant and hotel?
It was.
I guess that kind of got put on the back burner, but is that kind of included in that Cloverdale concept you got?
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of real heavy research that was done at that time, but it was using some of the research based on DR, as successful as it is, like you said, it was hard to get to. Can you imagine if you had to turn right off at 58? Now, of course, it's a bridge. That's a huge cost. But it would free up that property at the entrance. The initial vision was that there would be a commercial section as well as an industrial park section. That is where restaurants and hotels could be.
Would it be okay the board to just get that idea how much we were talking? Because that's been so far back, I don't know. That was a while back.
It's not in this one.
I know, it just took our brains to...
It's not in this one.
Right.
No bridges in this one.
No, that's right. It's just...
But as we develop these, if we did this regional project, it may spark more interest because it helps them all. It helps Halifax County.
I think it should.
It helps Danville, it helps Pittsylvania County tremendously. And he mentioned something about too, that Golden Leaf need water, and tell them, I mean, they've been very cooperative on Berry Hill. They may have even been interested in the need for the waters there. So I think we need to.
It might be, yes, sir, that conversation goes along with the need Mr. Smitherman mentioned.
That's right.
Because any data that we had when this was first discussed would be pretty woefully outdated. But if that idea stays alive and somebody wants to take it and run with it, we can certainly update all of it.
But I think that's where the Cloverdale idea originally came from, that conversation. Many years ago.
This would some of the MPO should probably be taking up as well, or?
Well, when you approve this list, it goes to the MPO, and I didn't get into all of the particulars, but there's a letter in here that once the board acts, they will authorize the county administrator to sign a letter to EDA. Well, we send that letter to West Piedmont, and then they put all of the localities together and send one submittal. So I'm working closely with Leah Manning on this through West Piedmont.
So we need a motion for that?
Any other questions? Anybody else?
Thinking that full board adopt.
I'll make that recommendation. The full board adopt.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Scarce, seconded by Mr. Barber. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Staff report, Mr. Smitherman.
We have time.
Matters from committee members. Other board members have anything? Okay. Make a motion to go into closed session.
And I make a motion that we go into closed session to discuss prospective business industry or the expansion of an existing business or industry where no previous announcement has been made of the businesses or industry's interest in locating or expanding its facilities in the community per Virginia Code 2.2-3711A5.
Motion made by Mr. Scarce, second by Mr. Barber. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, raise, roll call.
Mr. Warren?
Yes.
Mr. Scarce?
Yes.
Mr. Barber?
Yes.
All right, we return to open session at 6:30. Now do a roll call. We went, any board members believes that we went into closed session for incorrect reason or that we did not adhere to the Virginia FOIA code in closed session, please so state down. Your objection will be entered into the minutes. I'll now do a roll call. Dr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Barber?
Yes.
Ms. Blackstock? Yes. Chairman Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Scarce?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
Yes.
Okay, it's unanimous. This meeting's adjourned.